you'll be interested in tuning into if you're into collegiate. We also got Big Ten. We also got LCS finals going on in EU and NA this weekend. So there's a lot of League of Legends happening right now. But we are going to be getting into Champ Select for our first game.
Yeah, excited to see how this can go. Best of 5. I mean, you can get all the way up till you get the silver scrapes. I know in EU they've already gotten silver scrapes going on for the Vitality Splice game. So we get ready for Western and Ottawa. Try to see who can win. We're already getting the first ban being Sion.
Sion, just such a tanky fellow up there in the top lane. Has been a staple of the meta, really, this split, and not something you would particularly like to be playing against. And when you're on this blue side, you have some more target bans available. The red side typically has to ban stuff like that Swain, which did get nerfed in this patch, so priority might have gone down a little bit. You also have the responsibility of deciding what team gets Xayah Rakan, if any, and do you want to counter it with stuff like the Caitlyn Morgana. So there's a lot of different stuff you can do in the draft. But it looks like Western, with the side selection, has opted to take that blue side, and that probably will be what happens over the course of the series.
And Swain, the nerfs that happened to him were so minor, I doubt we're going to see that affect him too much. I pretty much expect him to be 100% banned, if not 100% pick ban. And then Kai'Sa getting banned as well. This is a champion that I've really been wanting to see more people prioritize because how powerful she became in 8.6 and 8.7, not touched at all.
Kai'Sa taken away, very strong AD carry. We saw a lot of success on her in that North Finals. We saw both Prototype and Evan Earl actually play that champion. Xayah also taken away, so no Xayah Rakan this time around. That's pretty much a red side ban, but with the AD carry pool opening up a little bit, it's getting focused down in the bans here. And that means stuff like the Jhin will come up, even though the Ginsu's interaction is disabled for him in college LoL specifically. You're not allowed to build that, or you're subject to a game forfeit actually.
Oh,
so that kind of raises the priority of these other AD carries. You might see stuff like the Caitlyn kind of rise up to be potentially a first rotation pick. I'm interested to see what actually Epic picks here for his team in this first pick.
I'm actually kind of surprised to see them ban Trundle. Doing a little bit of research, Epic and Julius kind of would switch around. They'd even throw Trundle top lane despite it being more meta into the jungle, just because that's such a powerful pick to kind of have for yourself in the first rotation. Same with that Olaf.
It really is, and Olaf, of course, being the highest priority jungle available, with none of them really targeted out in the bans here. Yes, Trundle can flex into that jungle, especially recently, but Olaf has just been such a strong pick, and he's really great until there's mobile carries that oftentimes Open Backpack will like to play, and with a lot of the more mobile AD carries that are safe, such as the Caitlyn and Xayah being taken away, it kind of leaves open an opportunity for this Olaf to be a very strong pick. However, there are stuff like the Sejuani, Skarner, and Zac available, so I think Harry Sixpacks will still get his pick of jungler for this match.
Yeah, the one thing though, usually you see that Olaf, Skarner not necessarily going to rise in priority because everyone knows how the interaction goes there. Olaf ignores the Skarner, ignores the Impale. I'm really shocked to see the Ezreal drafted so early into the rotation. Same with the Taliyah actually getting locked in.
They're showing a lot of AD carry priority just because 3 of them are off the table in bans, and the Jhin again has that interaction where it's banned. So you're already on this kind of 5th string ADC now that the Caitlyn was taken away by Ottawa. So they want to get their pick there first and force Short Hop to pick something that he's kind of fallen back on. And Short Hop loves the AD carries like the Caitlyn and Xayah, which they both banned. So his next most played would be Jinx. I'm not sure if we're going to be seeing that with the composition, though. The Taliyah blind pick is also something we've been seeing a lot more of. It was picked over for Maryville in that North Finals, just completely blind, first rotation, red side. And they weren't really afraid, even though there's an Olaf here. So they're kind of saying that Taliyah is a safe blind pick that can just manage with the mid lane wave and just roam.
Yeah, now I do want to see how the side of Western's going to go. It is going to be the Jinx. I kind of was hoping to see Ashe, who's definitely started surging into the meta, especially we talk about the mobile carries. Well, she's great at picking those off, use the Crystal Arrow, but instead wanting to get comfort for Short Hop.
Yeah, Short Hop is known for not having like that many AD carries that are at the top of his pool. He plays a lot of stuff like sparingly, but he also has those priority top 3, Jinx, Caitlyn, Xayah. So makes no surprise here that he goes for the Jinx. And of course, you want to do that in the first phase before the second phase bans come through and you get targeted out even further. The Skarner makes a lot of sense here because, again, you don't want to go through those second phase jungle bans. Just got to pick something here. And that leaves both the top and mid laner available for Western that are going to be focused out here, and the top and support, funnily enough, for Ottawa.
So for Ottawa, I really want to see if they're going to just try to ban out Chimona, try to make it easier for Open Backpack. The Orianna, pretty much an indication that that's what the game plan is for Ottawa.
Shimona has a very deep and diverse champion pool at that mid lane position, so I'm not sure if targeting him out is exactly what you want to do. On the other hand, Epic has a lot of Aurelia games, both before the rework and he's played it a little bit outside of the rework. So, given the fact that they have the red side counter pick to deal with, they might just save that for their top lane and pick the support here as that fourth pick after the second phase bans. That would make a lot of sense for them, and then they can counter the top if something like the Aurelia is chosen. So they're kind of more worried about just banning these safe matchups that can kind of bully the Talia out in the early game.
I really do expect to see probably Tom Kench coming in from Digital Lotus, try to help out, get a lot more safety for Psyonix, even for open backpack if they get into these skirmishes where they find themselves caught out. The mobile carries, especially for Talia, Ezreal, a little bit more flexibility at dodging around. The final ban for Ottawa will be Singe, which we actually do know that Epic has played in the past, not necessarily to the greatest success in the CLoL tournament, but definitely has been something that he could go to.
I'm interested to see what this support pick will be now that Morgana's taken off the table. Tom Kench is something that's still very popular and available. The Braum being taken away means it's kind of the last popular disengage support that would be left available. Or they could go for something more poke-oriented like that Karma that we've been seeing a bit more. So we'll just have to see. Could be really.
Lillard. Yeah, who knows what. Actually, yeah, it's going to be the Karma, it looks like, coming in. So try to get a little bit more lane priority, the Ezreal Karma lane. The amount of poke you can dish out on to short hop, even on to a Braum, is pretty high in the early game.
Thanks to both Twitch chat and people spamming me on Discord that Aurelia is disabled.
Oh no! I'm sad.
Yeah.
I wanted to see some Aurelia, some AP Aurelia. You know me, I like to have.
I've already cast it a couple of times, so that's why I just assume that it's actually available. But of course, on this collegiate patch, you have like the first 3 days and the week after the rework that it is disabled. So that will not be available this time around. Unlucky for Epic, who is such a well-known performer on it. However, the Vladimir is actually going to be locked in for Shimona, and that is something I can tell you that Talias do not particularly enjoy playing against. Just because once you get to that team fight stage, there's not really a whole lot you can do to actually counter the Vlad. In those team fights, he's just so easily able to dodge those seismic shoves and just kill your whole team.
He's also pretty good at making sure to shove out Talia, roam with Talia if she ever goes anywhere. Well, the final pick being Gnar, pretty safe in the top lane, something that a lot of people do like to go to, though can get countered by certain things. Camille not having to worry about it. Maybe Gangplank can be an opportunity for Yokin to prove himself in the top lane, or even the Shen, just to stop a lot of the auto attacks.
The Shen makes a lot of sense. You can see that with the composition that Ottawa have put together, they have a lot of bot lane focus because you have this Jinx Braum. They don't really have a lot of great ways to get over that Weaver's Wall from Talia. So if they can find time to bring this Skarner Talia down into the bot lane, they have that Shen that can stand united, and there will quickly be 5 people in that bot lane. So what they're hoping is that they can snowball that bot lane to get first blood turret, they can get the first dragon, and they'll also put behind Short Hop's Jinx, and that can make the game very difficult for the side of Western if this Jinx does not get off the ground, or the Vlad, because both of these need some time to scale up.
Yeah, so Ottawa pretty obvious. They want to try to set things up with the Skarner running at them, Righteous Glory Predator, Shen on top of him, even speed boosted by the Karma. But over for the side of Western, it just seems like they have so much power once they get to level 6 that's really why they want to hit home. They want to try to target Ottawa by getting into some teamfights, some skirmishes around that like spike of their power.
We'll really have to see, because they have the Ragnarok, they have that Hemo Plague, they have this Mega Gnar, and all of these stuff can just destroy team fights if they find a successful one. And it's really going to be on Western to find these team fights, and on Ottawa to kind of make sure they don't happen. They have this Mantra Karma Shield to try and disengage the entire team. They have all of these roaming plays that they can make. They have the Stand United to kind of play around and counter these picks that Western may try and make, and they want to avoid this kind of team fight because Talia and Ezreal don't really scale that well in terms of straight up 5-on-5. That's really where you're going to be looking at champions like the Vlad and the Jinx to succeed. You want to try and make plays and have a more skirmish heavy environment.
Yeah, so I really do want to see Ottawa at least being able to react properly, not getting themselves caught out, not getting a little bit too anxious whenever they see Olaf running at them, playing it very well, very choreographed, so they can cut him off and cut him away from the rest of the team so they don't have to worry about the full 5v5 skirmish.
It's going to be also pretty interesting to watch how these junglers path in the early game. We do expect both of these junglers have a fairly efficient clear compared to some of the more tank-oriented ones. Skarner and Olaf both do a lot of damage to these jungle camps. They probably might end up on the top side of the map. They would prefer to start with their bot lanes, giving them a nice leash to just kind of get them off the ground. And when you have that kind of Gnar that you can play around in Snowball, the Gnar is going to enjoy having a nice split push up against the Shen in that mid to late game where he can kind of just run the Shen down. And you don't want Shen to be able to group with the team. You don't want to give him that opportunity to stand united, because overall, if he can get there before you with that ability, he will likely have a larger impact than the Gnar. But Gnar will have more ability to split push down those turrets. So it's going to be interesting because there is the ability to 1-3-1 for the side of Western, as well as Ottawa, because Talia is someone that you can also put in that side lane. So there might not be as much straight up team fight brawling that we could expect. I do expect this game to have a fairly large emphasis on whichever team has the better lane assignments, macro game, and wave management.
Yeah, so excited to see how this first game, this best of 5 is going to happen for the Eastern Finals. But before we get into that, got to do some plugs for everything. So if you want to join our Discord, type in !Discord into the chat so you can talk with us, keep up with the collegiate scene in general. So that way we can always be up to date on that. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at C-Star League if you want to follow the whole entire organization, or if you just want Collegiate League of Legends, you can follow CSLoL, so you can keep up to date with that. We got a Facebook page, C-Star League, that you can follow. And as always, nothing but appreciation and gratitude for the largest streaming platform in-game to support Collegiate League of Legends, collegiate esports in general, from PAX East to West, and many more events. CSL wouldn't be where it is today without the help and support from Twitch. Be on the lookout for the cool opportunities to get involved with Twitch in the near future, and be sure to show them some love and support on Twitter. You can always follow them at Twitch on Twitter or their Facebook. So definitely excited now that we've gotten those plugs out of the way to get into some League of Legends and see how this game's going to go between the number 1 seed of Western and the number 2 seed of Ottawa.
Of course, and as always, guys, thanks for coming out into Twitch chat to actually support the stream, support your favorite teams. But Western is a true number 1 seed here. They were assigned number 1 seed just from the overall solo queue ranking back in December, and they kind of lived up to those expectations. They dropped 1 game in the regular season to New York, but they're still number 1 seed in the playoffs, and they made it here to the finals. And again, looking at their rosters on paper, you would kind of expect this Western team to have quite an advantage. They have about a high Masters to low Challenger average. On the other hand, Ottawa doesn't really have that luxury. They're going to have to rely a lot more on team play than their individual lanes in early game. They do have a lot of good early game champions in their draft, so that will help offset some of these laning disadvantages that you would expect from being lower ranked. But I'm not sure where what part of their plan actually they want to succeed at. Do they either want to go all in on this early game against those laning disadvantages you would expect from having lower solo queue ratings, or do they kind of want to challenge them in the macro aspect through surviving the early game with these strong picks? We'll have to see.
Yeah, especially in the bottom side of the map, really want to see if that's maybe where they want to hit home. They're going to have a pretty good shoving lane coming in from the Ezreal Karma duo. Braum and Jinx, while they can definitely fight back later into the game when Jinx gets a couple more items, some point of contention possibly for Ottawa. But we're going to find out in just a little bit. We're loading up onto the Rift, getting ready for the first game, the first set of the day. Before we get it, as we get ready for this game, it's going to be Ottawa on the red side with Western on the blue.
And finally, we are into our first game, and immediately there is a pause. Oh, man.
Feels bad. It's okay. We got a bug splat. It happens. It happens. We'll hopefully be able to
I bug splat yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Thursday in the cast, so that was pretty unfortunate. Riot, please
bad.
fix your game.
It's like millions of people are playing this or something. Weird.
I know. Speaking of which, we have Julius in the jungle in this game, not to be confused with the Big Ten UMich Julius, not to be confused with Julian, who played for Columbia College on Thursday. So
there's too many of them.
They're all playing at once as well in the collegiate scene. So
hey, props to them.
Yeah, I know. Very popular, very successful name.
Yeah, apparently, maybe that's what I should do. Maybe that's how I get better in solo queue. I change my name to Julius.
Maybe you'll take some abilities on Lux, and that'll also help.
No. You don't need abilities on Lux. I've told you this. You get Elementalist Lux, you don't level up a single ability, and you go full tank. Works every time. It's easy.
Right. Better hope you have a very strong team to carry you there.
Well, you were in the game. Apparently, that didn't work.
No. maybe if my team was good enough to win the South, I could have carried you there. But
okay. Anyways, let's get back to the game at hand. Sure, we have a pause, but we can talk a little bit more about the strategies that we kind of expect to be employed by these two teams. Especially, I kind of want to see a lot more early aggression. You were mentioning that we were talking about Psyonix and Digital Lotus in the bot lane, but Shen is actually kind of powerful. The base damages he has early on into Gnar could actually win this lane out.
For sure, and especially jungle attention will have some part in the general play of that lane, the kind of tempo, the pacing of how that Shen-Gnar matchup goes. Shen just kind of wants to survive and get his stand united, and Gnar is just happy to just build the best items he can into that 1v1 matchup and worry about teamfights kind of as a secondary element. I'm sure Epic is confident coming into this matchup with Yoken, because they had the opportunity to kind of last pick counter this top lane, and they still went with the Shen. They didn't really have anything prepared for the Gnar. There's no like kind of cheesy Yasuo picks to try and counter it. Something also to mention is we have double minion dematerializer in this mid lane, so Talia really wants to get this shove in for the mid lane. It's quite popular in her just to take that for roaming, but Vlad has actually matched it with that Summoner Spellbook, just kind of taking that to kind of relieve some of the pressure of Talia always shoving into you. If you get that additional minion damage, you can try and shove against her, but it will not be easy.
Now, I'm definitely surprised when I saw that on Chimona. Not necessarily something always picked up by Vladimir. I mean, he has got an unsealed spellbook with Ignite early on, possibly looking for an early kill, maybe level 4.
Yeah, but that is something you do expect when you have the Summoner Spell, because you can kind of take the Ignite early levels. Vlads are not really known for their heals or cleanses in the early game. They like to go ahead and take the Ignite because they have so much burst damage. If they can use their flash to kind of just get onto you when you've taken some damage, they can oftentimes drop you from even over half health just down to 0 at those early level 3, level 4. And if it doesn't work out, he can just switch over to teleport if he's getting shoved in and just get back to that lane scot-free.
Harry Sixpack and Julius kind of stared each other down just a little bit. Both of them know now that they're going to be starting on the top side of the map, so with that, we'll probably see a lot of attention in the spot lane, especially for the side of Ottawa. Psyonix and Digital Lotus probably going to have a lot more priority into this lane.
That really tells me that these junglers want to impact this bot lane as soon as possible. This is something that junglers will do when they know that their bot lane is very easily influenced and your early pressure could be there. Also, if they expect the other jungler to be there, they'll oftentimes match them because the power of a counter gank in the early game can be very strong. Already flash
Psyonix flash coming in and getting the flash out, flash for flash. Here's the heal to keep him alive. Short hop was ignited, but not dead yet. Psyonix a little bit greedy on that, letting the concussive stack onto him.
Extremely aggressive there, and it's 3 summoners on each side. You'll see Karma still has the flash, and Short Hop holds onto his heal, which probably will be the most advantageous for the time being because you have the ability to just kind of get 100 extra health on both of your members, and when the trades are going this closely, you're kind of going to need it more than that flash. That's really going to come in handy when these junglers start coming down here, and as we see, Olaf and Skarner are about to meet in that bot side river.
And it was a full clear from Julius on the top side, but Julius not even checking the bush, taking low, has flash, has to smite onto the scuttle to keep himself alive, but look at open backpack, looking for the roam, doesn't have the petals going the right place. Not going to be able to do that, but the seismic shove will pick up the first blood for open backpack. No flash. And has to be careful, that's a lot of damage coming in from Chimona. He wants to return the kill, but heal coming in. Harry Sixpack is here as well, but here comes the bot lane, about to roam up. Chimona taking pretty low, cannot fight a 4v1 just yet.
Wow, Julius just needed to be more observant, more perceptive of his surroundings, and that's really going to punish him. He had to smite the dragon, which almost took down Harry Sixpack in the end anyway. Psyonix went over the wall.
Yes, Psyonix went by himself as well when they're disengaging from Ottawa. Harry Sixpack and Digital Lotus had already said that we're done with the play, but still getting a little bit of poke, getting himself some sacks of gold as well. Gonna be pretty happy.
Julius, not really what he wants to be, down 1 death already. That's going to set his career behind quite a bit, and giving the kill over to Open Backpack, who already has almost a 10 CS advantage on this Vladimir just because of how the wave was positioned when they roamed. Talia got the shove and was able to be there first to use that flash to follow up on the kill when Julius flashed over the Dragon Pit. And then he's just going to be super happy. As soon as he backs, he already has over 1,000 gold in his pocket that he's going to be able to use to pressure out this lane, get that tier for the Seraphs if he wants it, or even go for the straight-up Lost Chapter. That'll really help him against this Vladimir lane.
Plus, he got himself a blue buff for that first blood kill, so Open Backpack on Talia is going to be very happy. That's honestly shifted the lane where we kind of were expecting Chimona to be able to go so aggressive onto Tilia. Try to see if he can flex a lot of his muscle. Unfortunately now, puts a lot of the priority back to Ottawa, but bot lane, getting the flash and now the heal with Olaf wrapping around the side. Julius wants to see if he can get a trade in some sort of lane. Concussive blows coming in with the slow. That's going to be the passive, and they get the kill with the strike from Julius.
Great repeat gank. Well, I don't know, not really repeat in the river, but Olaf, knowing that all those summoners were down from the initial bot lane 2v2 that only left the flash up on Karma, really meant that with no mana on the Ezreal, they had the opportunity to kind of just run him down. Couldn't arcane shift away, couldn't flash away. He was just left for dead. Karma didn't even have the really ability to shield him and speed him up. Just ran down, and that's what you can really do on the Olaf in this early game.
Makes it very close in the gold right now. Only 5 minutes in, but the pack's starting to come in. Double tier for the side of Ottawa. Seems that they definitely want to try to scale up into the later stages of the game. A little bit more mana under their belt, but they got to be careful of the level 6 all-ins that can potentially come in from Western.
And Skarner getting pretty aggressive. Harry 6-pack trying to bite off perhaps a bit more than he can chew because Nara is here and Shen is not level 6. Open backpack, what are you doing?
Yeah, Predator comes in, and that's the flash in with the blast cone. I don't think Open Backpack can do anything. Gives a free second kill to Julius.
What? Did he hit that blast cone himself, or was it Chimona knocking him over? Because if that was intentional, that was just poor decision-making, I suppose, because you know that Nara was there. You have that man advantage for the side of Western, and they immediately punish him. Talia had no summoners. Once you go in, there's no going out.
Exactly. No Weaver's Wall either to be able to ride the choo-choo train out to safety, possibly. Greedy play coming in from Open Backpack. Punished pretty heavily for that. And gonna give a CS lead over to Chimona. This Vladimir doing pretty well into the Tilia matchup.
Just a minute ago, he was doing poorly. He was down 10 CS, and a blue buff was on the side of Open Backpack, but that's all been given away now. He actually has a lead, and this Kindle Gem to kind of soak up any pressure that Open Backpack tries to apply in the lane. Meanwhile, bot lane, Short Hop is still deathless. They're going to be happy the kill is not on him from that Ezreal death, but he's scaling up just fine.
The biggest problem for me in the bot lane is Short Hop did go for the double Doran's Blade, not opting to get a little bit more of a later game scaling item. Instead, maybe feeling that they can go for a play, have a little bit more damage compared to the Tear of the Goddess that's already been picked up by Psionics.
Or he's just trying to kind of make sure he has enough damage stats to get him out of this lane without too much worry. Again, if you have the extra life on a hit from that Doran's Blade, you can kind of out-sustain and make sure you're not poked down by those Mystic shots constantly coming out of the Tier Ezreal. Psionics just spamming those out every so often, especially when you have Digital Lotus on this Karma. That's a very heavy poke lane. You want that sustained as Jinx to make sure when you eventually survive the lane, you have the gold, you have no deaths to your name, as is the current situation for Short Hop, to kind of get that BF sword, get your items, and scale up.
Top lane Predator was popped by Harry 6-pack, but spotted out by a ward. Epic already kind of knew. Walking away, so that's going to be a cooldown burned by the side of Ottawa, not able to take advantage of the Skarner too much in the early game just yet.
Afraid not. And you see Jokin actually use this teleport to go back into the top lane. That's one of the advantages you have when you're playing Shen, because he knows he has this Stand United. But if he now uses that Stand United to try and impact the play in the bot lane and it goes south, he might be in trouble, because then Epic has a lot of free time on this top lane turret that he's already been able to pressure. You see a 12 CS lead built up for the Gnar. That's fairly to be expected, but again, if Jokin leaves this lane for too long, it could transition into a lot of turret damage.
A lot of turret damage, possibly the first brick gold as well. That's probably what Epic wants. He's trying to see if he can constantly poke out Jokin, get the hyper stacks as well. I'll start transitioning a little bit more to the jungle. We look at the vision control coming in. Bottom side, pretty well controlled by the side of Ottawa. Well, it's more the middle of the map that seems that Western want to control.
And we're seeing that the one winning lane that Western picked is doing okay with that Gnar, but on the other side, this bot lane is going quite well for Ottawa with that Ezreal Karma poke. They're getting a lot of damage on this bot lane turret, and that's almost always the first turret to go down in competitive for that first blood, unless something crazy happens, because when you commit so many people down here, you have the ability with that Weaver's Wall, which still has yet to be used, and the Stand United, you can quickly make a play, and I think they should be looking to do that before these kind of early game laners fall off.
Completely agree with you. As a little bit of poke comes in from Digital Lotus and Psionics, but here comes Julius wrapping around. Predator has been popped. He's going pretty fast. Ragnarok right on a digital Lotus to get the killing spree. And here is the Stand United with the impale, trying to drag Braum back into the fray. But is it going to be enough? No, they traded the kill on a short hop. Coming in, Jokin doing a little bit more damage. Final shutdown onto the Olaf is pretty heavy. But short hop flashing over the wall to try to secure the kill onto Psionics. It doesn't seem that the aggression is done just yet from the side of Western. They want to get the poke with Epic on the other side. Chamona cutting off open backpack. No way to join the fight. Just needs one more auto coming in. As long as they can get it, should be enough. Open backpack gives it over to Chamona.
So, hold on. There's still a little bit more going on here. Great Meganar.
Great Meganar. And Jokin, he will be able to dodge away from some of the damage, but not all of it. And sadly, he sacrifices his life so Psionics can get out of dodge.
We see even Short Hop was just behind the turret sitting down there as insurance in case Epic can finish that one off. And Short Hop is using his flash very liberally. He used it at level 2 when Blaze Nova kind of just flashed in trying to get that Braum passive stacks just to get a 2v2 kill on this early lane that you don't really expect to be up to par with Ezreal Karma, as well as just there in that team fight where Ezreal had the Arcane Shift to escape. So he's really aggressive when he could just be content with scaling. On the other hand, what actually happened in that team fight was the Julius came down to this bot lane to make a play. The Summoners had just come up, but were still down for when Olaf got there initially. So Ezreal and Karma were eventually able to be run down without the ability to escape. As well, Chamona had the mid priority over Talia, so Open Backpack could not get that Weaver's Wall down here, even though Jokin had Stand United. So not all the pieces were together. And when you couple that with the fact that they were near western side of the bot lane, there was just not a lot they could do 5v4.
Oh, it seemed that Western wanted to make another play onto Psionics. They want to try to see if they can get this Jinx back up to par. Pretty big lead, and here comes the Ragnarok going again onto Psionics, but it's Harry Sixpack in the area to disengage this fight. Even the True Shot Barrage makes it so that they don't want to go too far. Blaze doesn't know oh, what a snipe from Short Hop onto Psionics. That honestly just made this play all the worthwhile for Western.
And Psionics had flash too. There was no way he was expecting that much damage to come out of Short Hop's Super Mega Death Rocket. And that's just going to kind of lead Western into this early dragon, and it looks like Ottawa's just going to forfeit it up. That's an Ocean going over.
Ocean going over, 2-level lead in the top side of the map for Epic. Things are going really well for the side of Western. They don't seem to fear what Ottawa is going to be able to do just yet. They have so much control.
He's just proxying this wave under Jokin's turret because they know there's nothing that the Shen can do about it in this situation. They saw Skarner down in the bot side. They already lost that 3v3. And Shimoda's having a great time in this mid lane too. You saw Open Backpack had to burn both summoners that had recently come up in that last team fight and still went down to the Vlad.
Taunt lands from Jokin, but can't really fight with Epic. Transitioning back to the bot side of the map. I was even going to mention before that play happened to get Short Hop another kill is that he's been behind pretty significantly in the CS. He was down about 30 before that play started. We're only 12 minutes into the game. Being that far behind meant you're down so much gold, so many items. The motor mana is starting to get scaled up for Psionics. Already has a Sheena as well compared to the 1 BF sword of Short Hop.
Jinx is going to be quite happy with where they are, and Shimon, look how aggressive he's able to get under this mid-outer. I'm still looking for where this First Blood turret is actually going to fall, because we saw the initial level 6 usage of Jokin's Stand United and Open Backpack's Weaver's Wall was not effective at all. In fact, Western was entirely prepared for that and just won the fight completely. That's why we see them having this gold lead right now. So, but now that the Weaver's Wall and the Stand United are back up, Ottawa's kind of running out of time to make this play to kind of set them apart in the early game when they pick these winning lanes in the mid and bot lane.
Going to be a lot of that skirmish potential that we talked about in the Champ Select really going the way of Western. They're loving this. They love the full aggression. If Ottawa tries to match them, it doesn't seem to be going too well. If Ottawa take down this first brick gold to get something back in the tank so they can have a little bit of a lead, it'd be nice. Unfortunately, Julius was able to solo out that Rift Herald.
And we see Harry Sixpack is trying so hard to make something happen. He's called out Open Backpack for the Weaver's Wall, but Rift Herald means they're on a clock. It looks like they will barely be able to do it in Short Hop and Blaze Nova. They have some amount of knowledge. There's not a ton of vision down here, but they know they need to lead.
Rift Herald popped in the mid lane, so as Well, as well for Ottawa, they got themselves the first pick gold. It's going to be nice. It will be traded in the mid lane, unfortunately, which opens up a lot of the map for Western to try to see if they can get control of the Harry six-pack. Maybe even try to see if they can get control around the Baron pit.
It would be nice. There's not really anything they need around the Baron pit for the next 6 minutes, so yeah. I think the next dragon is a bit more likely to be under confession.
That's actually what I meant to say. I said Baron, I'm like, well, I'm just going to go with it.
Yeah.
It happens.
There's still a lot of time on the next dragon, too, honestly. There's not a ton of objectives. I think that what Western wants to do is take this Gnar that they have a lead on and kind of just find a way that he can keep matching this Shen, whether that's in the top lane or in the bot lane. Because a lot of times what you see is once you get this turret, you swap out your bot lane. So Ottawa was the team to get this bot lane turret because they brought down the Talia and the Skarner. And they didn't even need the Stand United. It was great for the side of Western to actually not allow them to get kills on top of that. They kind of just allowed the turret to go down for a trade. They're going to take that little loss in the First Blood turret gold as kind of a payment for picking these scaling Vlad Jinx compositions. And they're going to be okay with that.
So that's where, for myself, I look towards Ottawa. They have a lot of potential to fight in this earlier stage of the game. They have themselves the first pick gold. They have Ezreal, who's doing fantastic over Short Hop, despite being down 2 kills. He's got far more items, already working towards the Triforce build. Well, there's only components for Short Hop so far.
I'm surprised Short Hop has so few items. He's just the BF Sword and Zeal. And he's 202, so we are really looking. I figured he would have some gold in his pocket, but he's only on 400 right now. He needs to get these items before he's effective at all compared to this Ezreal.
That's where we got to kind of keep our eyes on. If Short Hop doesn't start getting some items, he can be punished in this earlier stage of the game, as Sixpack wanted to go on to Julius. Unfortunately, wasn't able to land the fracture, so had to back off just a little bit. But with 4 members on the top side of the map for Ottawa, there's a potential play that can be made around this top tower.
Yep, and this is what I meant when you say you rotate the bot lane, and both of the top laners have found their way down to this bottom side, where Gnar has the advantage. He's quite happy because he has this turret where he is able to have a free lane. There's not going to be any jungle attention brought down here because all of the bot lanes are in the mid and top, and all the mid laners are trying to wave clear frantically to save their turrets. Gnar just has this free time. You see he's level 12 to level 10 over the Shen. This is just huge for him. He can just hit this turret whenever he wants.
With the Black Cleaver as well compared to the Sunfire Cape, so gonna shred through some of the armor that Jokin's been trying to build up. Makes it a little bit difficult for that lane. We really want to start seeing some of this jungle prioritization. Julius, he wants to see if he can get control of Ottawa's jungle, especially around the top side of the map. Maybe they want to facilitate Chimona to find a pick on to Psyonix, because he's the one in the side wave, not Short Hop.
Western would be fine to get vision control, and they'd be happy if they had that kind of safety assurance. But they don't need to force anything right now. They have a 2,000 gold lead. They have Vlad and Jinx that just need to get a little bit more farm to get their items. We see Proto Belt on Vlad already completed, and he's working towards that Morellonomicon as well. So that will help quite a bit in terms of his magic penetration. So he's just going to eventually wipe them. But now Epic's looking for a dive.
Possible dive. Here comes Short Hop and Blazed right behind. A lot of damage onto Epic. He's no longer Mega. A lot of use on to Jokin. Finally jumping on him with flash after flash to get a killing spree for Short Hop. This Jinx is going to be excited, taking down towers as well to trade what they lost on the top side of the map.
It's a little bit of a race here in Magical. We see that Ottawa is all in the top side, and it's all the bot side for Western. Are they going to continue opting into this trade? We see that Epic actually backed on the Gnar, going to try and answer them, but there's no such answer for the side of Ottawa because Jokin's down.
Chimona has Ghost as well, so he can start going to the top side of the map. They might look for a 2v3 fight for Western.
I think they can.
Yeah, I'm discouraged so far. There's still a lot of damage coming on. Open backpack shows up. It might be the tower falling down as Epic and Chimona, they do end up backing off, but the push is not done for Western. They want to see if they can open up the base.
And if they do this, this would be absolutely huge because Gnar has been winning this split push so heavily and having an open inhibitor so much, and now they're trying to kill Jokin a second time.
Underneath the tower, the inhibitor tower, sniped Rampage for Short Hop. It does seem that the aggression has finally tempered for Western, but they got so much out of that.
And now they can just fall back to this Ocean Drake. There's nothing else available on the map that Ottawa can really answer with in trade. Yes, they got 2 turrets in the top lane, but when are you going to be able to just kind of revisit that lane and actually get something out of the control? Maybe if you get deep Baron vision, but otherwise, they don't really have anyone that wants to be so deep in that top lane. Shen's been answering Gnar this whole game.
Well, the bigger thing for me is we were harping on Short Hop. His items not being there, not being completed. Well, that's 2 towers. Rampage got 2 kills for himself, so he goes back, gets a QSS on top of a Runons. He's gonna be very happy now.
I wouldn't say harping because it's not really Short Hop's fault he didn't have items. He was 2-0-2 and holding on in the smoke lane. But now that he has this Runon as well as the QSS, he's not going to be able to die, really, because he has this Braum to put up this shield and protect him. He has a strong tank line in the form of the Gnar and the Olaf will be charging in and keeping him safe. And there's not really anyone that's going to be able to dive him now that the QSS is completed and he can get out of that Skarner suppress.
It's really just a lot of priority and power now put into Short Hop, where he's going to be even more scary. We thought he had pretty decent damage before. Now it's going to be a lot more on to Ottawa on how they're going to be able to play around that knowledge. See the Quicksilver Sash on a Short Hop. Maybe they try to take out Chimona, but that's a very slippery Vladimir. He's not going to be someone you can lock down too easily.
These carries, this Vlad, this Jinx, are not someone you can lock down too easily. And this is what happens when you pick Talia and Ezreal and you don't do anything in your early game.
Predator comes out, but it's stopped by the Fissure. He's cut off from the rest of the team, trying to see if they can take down a Harry Sixpack with the Stand United on top of him. And Pale already wasted, but now Jokin into the middle of the battle, trying to see if he can save the Scorpion King. And he's running away for his life. The Hyper Stats
get excited!
Finally gone. I'm excited. There comes Shimona, but he might have been a little bit too greedy. Trades back 1 kill, but it doesn't matter because Short Hop has the damage. He's going deep with his Olaf, who's maybe a little bit further out than he should have been, but still, all in all, it'll be a 2-for-3 trade for Western.
Honestly, it looked a lot better than a 2-for-3 for Western because they were just running them down. It was a complete retreat for the side of Ottawa, but they had that Mantra Karma shield. They had the Stand United. They bought enough time for Talia to kite back, with Ezreal to kite back with that threaded volley and the Mystic shot. So they were eventually able to trade 2 on a Julius and Shimona. But if the fights continue going that way, I'm not too sure it'll keep being all right for the side of Ottawa. Their champions are falling off compared to the Vlad and the Jinx, and all of their flashes have been burned except for Karma.
I mean, it all started off with Harry Sixpack flashing forward. He wanted to see if he can get the pick on the Chimona. We were just talking about that, but he was never able to get that until it was way too late. Fissure to delay. Then Skarner cut off from the rest of his team. That just seems disjointed from the side of Ottawa this game.
And by the way, the 80 carry game is over. There's a 0-3 Ezreal sitting on Trinity Force and Mermana. He's going to do damage. But then there's the 6-0 Jinx, who as soon as she gets that Infinity Edge, the game, as far as 80 carries are concerned, is over. Psyonix will not be able to catch up to Short Hop's scaling curve, and eventually, if no one can get on top of Short Hop in these team fights, and Shimona is just a slippery on this Vladimir, who do you actually focus? You have to find picks with the Weaver's Wall and Stand United, or else you're just going to lose straight up 5v5.
There's that Infinity Edge, as you were talking about it, now completed for Short Hop. This is going to be a very scary Jinx who's going to try to see if she can run down anyone on the side of Ottawa. It doesn't matter if you're tanky or not. You're not going to really be able to escape Jinx when she gets excited. Julius has to be a little bit careful. Doesn't want to pop the Ragnarok for nothing. He wants to see if he can use that for a fight. It seems that Ottawa trying to see if they can fight back a little bit of the vision control around the Baron buff. Even though it's only 22 minutes into the game, they don't want to give over that early objective to Western.
And Western can kill it very fast with this Jinx, who now has the Infinity Edge and Runons. So that's enough crit. Once another Zeal item is completed, if that's what Short Hop actually opts into, the Baron will just be gone very quickly. You have the Gnar 3-hit passive, you have the Olaf axes that just come raining down. They can burst this at any time that they want to. There's also going to be another Dragon coming up in 2 minutes. That's actually going to be the Infernal. And when you have this Gnar that has such a great control, the Stranglehold over Shen in the bottom lane, still 2 levels up by the way, and just can open this up, this Infernal is going to be free.
Julius gotta be careful. Here comes the Weaver's Wall to cut off him and Blaze, but that's the Fissure knocking up 4 members, and Harry Sixpack taking so low, cut off flashes coming in from everywhere, just to make sure they can clean up 2 kills for the side of Western. Baron in their sights. They don't have to worry. No Skarner with the threat to steal it away, but Blaze does have to be a little bit careful. He doesn't want to get cut off as Julius is tanking up the Baron by himself. Stand United. Psyonix bursted down by Chamona.
Look at bot lane.
Left by himself as well. Don't have to worry about Nor. He doesn't want to join in. Sure, he doesn't have TP, but it's all for naught when you lose Shen, who somehow throws it around. At least he gets a return kill, but the base opened up by Epic.
And that's the only chance that Ottawa's going to get at this point, because they went all in. They called the Stand United for Jokin down into the fight, and that essentially means forfeiting the inhibitor to the Gnar, who's just so far ahead. But when you lose the fight on the other side and give the Baron, what can you do to come back in this game now with your composition that has fallen off compared to the scaling?
And they're trying to run down Epic. Maybe Harry Sixpack can go for the steal. Western saying they don't want to give an avenue back into the game towards Ottawa, giving a little bit of respect maybe to the smite game that Harry Sixpack can provide.
That's a respectable decision. They didn't want to give over the 50-50 because they have the assumption that they already have bagged with that bot lane inhibitor. Whether or not they have the Baron at this moment, it should be fairly free for the taking when they eventually get around to it, given the way that the recent team fights have been going. And giving respect over to Harry Sixpacks, who had the Blast Cone, even though he didn't have the Flash, is still a good thing to see. You can tell that Western had confidence that they're the better team. They don't need to go for these kind of risky Barons, and they're just going straight back towards it right now.
When Infernal spawned up, Ottawa thought they wanted to go for it, but because they went and passed down to the bottom side of the map, Western make the call. They want to burst down this Baron. Gotta be careful because Harry Sixpack is on the other side looking to see if he can get in with the Weaver's Wall cutting him off the path. Now DP. Wow, that was a lot of damage onto Harry Sixpack, and they trade back Epic. The Baron's still not down just yet, and Jokin try to see if they can kill off, try to see if he can steal the Baron. Finally, it's smacked down by Olaf. Jokin traded in the pit. As still the battle comes in, Chamona was zoning away 3 members of Ottawa as Open Backpack is cut off from his team, taking down Chamona pretty well, but I don't think he can fight back too much longer. He's being run down by a lot of people. Predator pop. Here comes the speed of Julius. Here comes the speed of Olaf. Reckless swing abound with the axes landing left and right. Baron and the killing spree over for the side of Western.
So this time Julius had Smite, and you can tell as soon as that was the factor, they just rushed down this Baron because they knew Harry Sixpack, he was on the bottom side of the map. He didn't have the speed to get there before the Baron was already bursted down with the immense amount of damage coming out from Short Hop, who's now 905 untouched in every single fight and just wreaking havoc on this Ottawa team. It's time for them to start thinking about next game.
And that's what you gotta ask yourself. What do you change into the next game coming in from Ottawa? Because on paper, this seems like a pretty good draft. They had winning bot side. They had pretty winning top side for Shen in the early stages of the game. They never were able to utilize that Talia pick.
Right, and you really had to be looking for more of these opportunities to use the Stand United and the Weaver's Wall with your jungler to make a play around the bot side. They had 2 chances. The first one backfired on them completely, and Western was able to actually come out of that with an advantage. In the second one, they got the bot lane First Blood turret that was traded, and they didn't get anything else. So when you're playing against these kind of teams that are just much higher ranked individually, you basically have the option of kind of all-inning on these early game champions to survive the early game and try and match them in the late game, or you can try and go for the scaling pick and then have better chance of doing well in the late game, but kind of risking your early game in these kind of poor laning matchups. So what they did for the side of Ottawa this game was they matched their early game, but it looks like they weren't really able to make anything happen with the champions, and Western played around it very well.
Smite, goes over for Harry Sixpack there. He was able to steal away the red buff at least, so consolation prize, I suppose, for the side of Ottawa. Not necessarily something you want to be able to, not want to say at this stage of the game, 27 minutes into the game, that you're barely able to secure your own red buff as the towers are falling down to Short Hop.
Oh, they got a pick.
Wait, Chamona is the one getting the pick, but it seems that Short Hop is excited already, doing so much damage, taking down the inhibitor so low. Needs one more hit, the banner command minion doing a lot. We're wailing away on that tower, but unfortunately not able to finish it off.
So Western tried a 1-3-1, but it looks like they spread themselves too thin. They weren't really in a position to kind of trade that for Chamona when he fell down. You saw the Weaver's Wall from Open Backpack was good to stall. They're still going to be able to get this top lane inner turret, but the bot lane inhibitor will be coming back up shortly, and if they can hold on to their base and stall out the Baron a little bit longer, Ottawa will be happy with this.
Another tower falling down. 7th one of the game for the side of Western. Feeling so confident of themselves. They're several items ahead of their opponents, especially mid lane. Shamona sure he died, but he's sitting item and a half down. That's a 4v5. TP is going to be up for Shamona. He can join this fight in any moment, and he has to see if he can get in time. Yokin taken down, spread apart from his team. Staying united was not enough, and that Psionics run down by Julius. Reckless swing abound to get the rampage for Julius. This looks like it could be the end of the game for Western as they get themselves the second inhibitor of the game.
The bot lane inhibitor will be respawning very soon, but it looks like they're just going to go around the house here to try and clear out all three. Short Hop does so much damage right now.
Almost taking down. Nice jump in from Blaze to save the life of Short Hop and turn it around onto the Scorpion team. The snipe from Short Hop as well. He gets a double kill. They get almost, yes it is, it's gonna be the triple kill. He gave over his life, but his team doesn't care. They're taking down the Nexus towers. They're taking down the Nexus. Game 1 in the Eastern Finals goes over to Western.
Very decisive game 1 there once Western actually gave themselves the time to scale up on their carries. They didn't have to look for anything in that early game. They were confident in the composition they put together, and they were able to make great stuff happen with it once they got their items. We saw 13, 1, and 5 for Short Hop. Of course, you need the items on Jinx to actually start getting there, but once he was, no one could touch him. He had the great front-to-back team fighting that kind of Ottawa didn't really have the chance to compete with their more roaming-oriented composition.
So I have to ask this because